Western Spring Television. Ours it is.
Here are the top stories of the news. The national chairman of the New Nigeria People's Party, Professor Rufai Alkali, has resigned. President Muhammadu Buhari approves the amended NUPRC mini-bid 2022-2023 calendar. On the foreign scene, Pope Francis presides over Palm Sunday Mass after hospital stay. Good afternoon and welcome to Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. My name is Evelyn Ohiola. We begin with politics. The national chairman of the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, Professor Rufai Alkali, has tendered his resignation. Professor Alkali, who made his decision known in a letter addressed to the party's national secretary, premised his decision to quit on the need to make room for fresh hands to come in and build on successes recorded in the brief period he had sway as the party's national chairman. He further noted that the NNPP has a great future and potential to emerge as a leading political force that is capable of winning the presidential and other elections in 2027. Governor Abdullahi Ganduje has criticized the governor-elect Abba Yusuf's recent advisory, calling it baseless and indicative of a lack of direction in leadership. Mr. Yusuf had cautioned lenders against issuing the Kano state government any more loans without his consent, as well as warning individuals against building on lands acquired in public spaces. Mr. Ganduje's response came while addressing journalists yesterday after a prayer session held in honor of the president-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the State Government House. He said it was a practical indication and a practical symbol that their leadership has no sense of direction, noting that kind of adversary is baseless. He further accused the governor-elect of talking as if he is already the governor of the state. Meanwhile, the Inter-Party Advisory Council, a coalition of the 18 registered political parties, has raised concerns over plots of interim government by unknown persons, saying this would scuttle the nation's democracy. IPAC said it amounted to treason and a civilian coup. The organization called on the Department of State Services to name, arrest and prosecute the plotters of interim government in accordance with the law to serve as a deterrent to others. The DSS had raised the alarm that following the 2023 general election, some aggrieved persons were planning to destabilize the country by instituting an interim government. But the national chairman of IPAC, Yabaji Sani, told journalists in Abuja that the allegation, if true, was treasonable and a civilian coup.
A few months ago, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has established a committee
plot to install an interim government in Nigeria. It is a civilian coup, treason, absolutely unconstitutional, undemocratic, and unacceptable. IPAC rejects any attempt to scuttle, subvert, and truncate the nation's emerging democracy by reactionary and retrogressive forces It is in an attempt to overheat the polity, cause confusion, political upheavals, impasse, and quagmire, as was the case in the infamous annulment of the June 12, 1993 presidential election that necessitated the hasty set-off of an interim government by General Ibrahim Babangida, which was headed by Chief Ernest Shonaka in August 1993. Council notes the statement by the Department of State Service, DSS, that it has uncovered a plot by some persons to violently disrupt the nation's peace and install an interim government. Council demands that the country's intelligence service should name the plotters, arrest, and prosecute them in accordance with the law of the land to serve as a deterrent to others who would resort to self-help to achieve their selfish political ambitions.
In Rivers, the Rivers State Police Commanders confirmed the arrest of 3 lawyers filing proceedings at the Election Petition Tribunal for the state chapter of the All Progressives Congress. It also said 5 APC support staff working with the legal team to challenge the outcome of the March 18, 2023 governorship election in the state were picked alongside the lawyers yesterday morning in a hotel in Port Harcourt. A spokesperson for the State Police Command, Grace Iringa-Koko, confirmed this in a statement issued this morning. SP Iringa-Koko said the arrest followed a tip-off that some unknown lodgers were seen carrying packages in and out of the rooms and printing suspected election materials. She disclosed that a video recording of the activities in one of the rooms was forwarded by the informant to the police commissioner. In the meantime, the police force has confirmed that controversial singer Bibo Kikiola, popularly known as Portable, faces a charge of over 6 counts following his recent arrest. This comes after viral videos on Tuesday showed the musician in a confrontation with some policemen deployed to the recreational center he owns in Ogun State. The force public relations officer, Muyiwa Adejobi, in a series of tweets, disclosed details of the case against the musician. It reveals that Portable has more than 6 count charges to attend to, apart from resisting arrest and injuring a policeman. He noted that the musician will be charged to court for beating up a guy in Otta who filed a petition against him, as well as other pending cases of assaults on people and attacks. In Zamfara State, the police commanders paraded 21 suspects for various criminal offenses, including banditry, kidnapping, theft, and vandalization, amongst others. Public Relations Officer of the command, SP Muhammad Shehu, said 17 of the suspects took part in post-election violence that led to the vandalization and looting of public and private properties, including All Progressives Congress APC campaign offices across the state capital. Items recovered are 2 semi-silent generators belonging to the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Gusau, 2 refrigerators, vandalized doors, electronics, couches, 40 pieces of women's wrappers, burglar-proof 4 windows, and pillar reinforcement rods. It will be recalled that police detectives led by the Commissioner of Police, Kolo Yusuf, had earlier arrested 40 suspects, recovered some of the looted items. The police command in Zamfara also arrested a wanted notorious bandit accused of terrorizing the state and environs. In the meantime, the Abia State Police Command has alleged that an attack on its men by some members of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, resulted in the death of 5 members of the group. The claim is contained in a statement by the command's PRO, Geoffrey Ogbuna. It was gathered that 5 members of the group were shot dead in Osusu, Aba, on Friday as they were on a procession across Aba. Some of the residents said the group was peacefully protesting the continued detention of IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu when the incident happened. But the police said they were armed with petrol bombs, machetes, battle axes, and other dangerous weapons. Moving on, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, says President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the amendment of the bid round calendar for 2022 and 2023. The The Commission Chief Executive, Benga Komolafe, in a statement yesterday, said the approval is to accommodate the concerns expressed by both local and international investors over the closeness of the schedule of the terminal date of the present administration in the country. Mr. Komolafe added that the move is geared towards boosting confidence in the transparency and continuity of the 2022-2023 deep offshore oil block mini bid round process. He further disclosed that the following approval of the President, the Commission has revised the deep offshore oil block and round schedule by extending the deadline for the submission of the technical and commercial bids to May 19, 2023, as well as a timeline for concluding activities of contract negotiations and signing between July 3rd and 28th, 2023. You're still watching Spring News at 12 on Western Spring Television. We'll be right back after this break.
James Ajibolaige was a lawyer who obtained his first degree in classics from Nigeria's premier University of Ibadan. Born September 13, 1930, the orator and the polyglot spoke impeccable English, French, Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba languages. His fine diction placed him among classical orators and public speakers like Cicero, the Roman orator. This attribute earned him the prefix Cicero of Esauke. He authored Kaduna Boy, an autobiography, Detainee's Diary, Constitution, and the People, among 6 other books. Bolaige was a colorful politician, elected governor of Oyo State in 1979 and appointed a federal minister in 1999. He was a pioneer founder of Afenifere, the Yoruba social, cultural, and political group. He invested his political sagacity to propel the group to the height of political leadership and decision-making in the southwest of Nigeria. Bolaige was assassinated on the 23rd December 2001. His murderers are yet to be apprehended till today. Western Spring Television identifies Bolaige as a watershed character in history. Born Jeremiah Oyeni Obafemi on March 6, 1905, Obafemi Awolowo was a prime architect of Nigeria's independence and most consummate advocate of free education and social welfare in Africa's most populous nation. Erudite politician, thinker, and philosopher, Awo was fondly addressed by associates and political colleagues, brought his unique attributes to bear on governance in the defunct Western region. He administered as leader of government business and the premier between 1955 and 1958. Obafemi Awolowo's premiership witnessed pioneering in multi-sectoral policy initiatives and execution. The Western region under his administration paraded several enviable records. First television station in Africa, first real estate in Nigeria, first high-rise building in Nigeria, first modern sports stadium in Nigeria, first agricultural settlement in Nigeria, first modern civil service secretariat in Nigeria, and first industrial estate in Nigeria. His face is on 100 naira denomination as a mark of honor for his distinguished services to his country. Western Spring Television identifies Obafemi Awolowo as a major character in history.
Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. The Lagos State government has commenced repair work on the Third Mainland Bridge. As of this morning, workers were seen working on the failed portion of the critical infrastructure where peeled asphaltic sections were identified. Maintenance will stretch 120 meters on both sides of the bridge inbound Adeniji and Oworoshoki, although the work starts around 7:48 a.m. with personnel and machines having arrived at the site of the peeled-off sections of the road. It is expected to run off later in the evening. The State Commissioner for Transportation, Dr. Frederick Oladende, had yesterday announced traffic diversion plans for the rehabilitation process occurring between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. Elsewhere, the federal government has so far released 15 billion naira for the repatriation of internally displaced Nigerians from the three neighboring countries of Chad, Cameroon, and Niger. This was disclosed by Governor of Borno State, Babangana Zulum, after a meeting of Repatriation, Return and Settlement Committee chaired by Vice President Yemi Osibajo at the State House, Abuja. The IDPs were those who fled to the neighboring countries at the height of Boko Haram and other terrorist activities in the northeast. The Borno State Governor said the committee discussed modalities for implementation of the repatriation.
A few months ago, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has established a committee for the repatriation, return, and settlement of IDPs that are living in the Republic of Chad, Cameroon, and Niger to Nigeria. Based on the recommendation of the chairman of this committee, which is the Vice President, the sum of 15 billion naira has been released to the committee. We are here to discuss modalities of implementation. Who does what? So far, so good. A lot has been discussed. Many items will be procured so that the repatriation exercise will take place with immediate effect. More than about 300,000 were repatriated. But under this phase, we are yet to begin the process. Yes, this is the first phase of the repatriation exercise we shall embark on very soon. Guidelines were provided to respective agencies that are to handle this matter. Modalities means what should be given to the individuals in terms of food and non-food items. What type of houses shall we build? What is the transportation medium? What is the minimum threshold required to return people from the neighboring countries to Nigeria? These are some of the issues that have been discussed according to the international best practice.
On the foreign scene, Pope Francis presided over Mass in St. Peter's Square today as it kicked off events leading to Easter just a day after leaving hospital following a bout of bronchitis. The 86-year-old's admittance to hospital on Wednesday with breathing difficulties sparked concerns he may not be well enough to attend a series of rites in the most important week in the Christian calendar. But the pontiff had promised to be present, and he waved briefly to some 30,000 people as he rode in his Pope mobile through the square, which was adorned with over 35,000 plants and flowers. He looked serious as he followed the procession through St. Peter's Square of religious figures, including red-robed cardinals carrying large palm leaves and olive branches. Palm Sunday marks the arrival of Jesus in Jerusalem before his crucifixion. Easter Sunday, which this year is on April 9, celebrates his resurrection from the dead. In the United Kingdom, British Home Secretary Suella Braverman has said she doesn't foresee refugees from Rwanda being sent to Britain, despite it being listed in the asylum seeker agreement between the two countries. She insists the reality is that Rwanda won't be sending vulnerable people to the UK, despite calls for her to clarify why it is written into the deal. Ms. Braverman made this known in a news chat stating that she was convinced Rwanda was a safe place for refugees. According to the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, a group of Congolese refugees living in the Kiziba refugee camp in Rwanda were shot dead by police for protesting against their living conditions. Ms. Braverman, when quizzed on the matter, said she wasn't familiar with the case.
Fall back. Well, as I said, that might be 2018. We're looking at 2023 and beyond. The High Court, senior expert judges have looked into the detail of our arrangement with Rwanda and found it to be a safe country and found our arrangements to be lawful. Rwanda, from which I've just returned, takes 100,000 refugees and resettles, and I met some of them in Rwanda on my recent visit from countries in the region. They have nothing but gratitude and thanks for Rwanda for the resettlement scheme that Rwanda has put on for, as I say, over 100,000 people who are fleeing persecution, fleeing conflict. They have a track record of successfully resettling and integrating people who are refugees or asylum seekers. I think that I think we're on strong ground to say that Rwanda is a safe country. It is the right solution for us grappling with our small boats problem, and I believe it will strike the right balance of providing a humanitarian package of support for people who are refugees, whilst at the same time being a deterrent to those seeking a life in the UK.
Elsewhere in Europe, Finns are going to the polls in an election seen as an almost neck-and-neck race between right-wing populists, conservatives, and Prime Minister Sanna Marin's centre-left. Finland may be days from joining NATO, but the war in Ukraine has had little campaign impact, even though Finland shares the longest border with Russia. The election battleground has instead been over the economy, with Finns making a big choice on their country's future direction. Polling stations opened at 9:00 local time and will close at 20:00 local time, when the results of some 1.7 million advance votes will be released. The main challenge to Sanna Marin's Social Democrats comes from the right, with Petteri Orpo of the National Coalition Party.
Of course, we hope that Social Democrats will win these elections. It's so important because we want to stay open society that also wants to work together internationally. We want to build better, greener, sustainable future where every people have the same opportunities in life. So of course we hope that
the most important thing in next government is to fix our economy, boost economic growth, balance public economy, and the second very important issue is to build up NATO Finland.
Of course, there are many legislative amendments and reforms that we want to pursue. For instance, to migration policy, climate and energy policy, criminal policy, and we also want to tighten our attitude towards the European Union.
Now taking some sports stories, Britain's Anthony Joshua said he should have knocked out Jermaine Franklin after the former world heavyweight champion returned to winning ways with a unanimous victory over the American after 12 rounds. Joshua, fighting in front of a home crowd at the O2 Arena, was given the win by 118-111, 117-111, 117-111 on the scorecards of the three judges in the non-title fight. This is the 33-year-old's first win since 2020 after successive defeats by Alexander Usyk saw the former Olympic champion lose and then failed to regain his global titles. Joshua, speaking after the game, said it was important to win, adding that another loss could have ended his career. He revealed that he should have knocked him out, but it is done. On to the next. The judge's verdict meant Franklin suffered his second defeat of his 23-fight career after losing to Britain's Dillian Whyte at Wembley in November.
Last time I grabbed the mic, it was a bit chaotic, so I'm calm. I appreciate every single person coming out this evening. You see, Jermaine's got, someone else will knock him out probably, from Britain, I reckon. But Jermaine's got a good duck and dive style. There was opportunities there, but he knew how to tuck up. Respect to him, he done well. I respect him for that. Well done to him and his team for preparing. You know they were prepared for the fight. I should have knocked him out, but what can I say now? It's done. On to the next.
Now to football, Gabriel Jesus scored his first Arsenal goal since October as the Gunners restored their 8-point lead at the top of the Premier League with a comfortable 4-win over Leeds. Second place Manchester City's victory at home to Liverpool had caught the cup to 5 points, but Yesa's first half penalty put Mikel Arteta's side in front just after the half-hour mark. Leeds had created the better opportunities in the opening half-hour of the contest, but they fell further behind 2 minutes into the second half when Ben White converted Gabriel Martinelli's low cross via the underside of the crossbar. Arsenal dominated from that moment on, and Yesus made it 3-0 with a clinical first-time finish from Leandro Trossad's drilled cross. Rasmus Christensen's pulled a goal back for Leeds, but Granit Xhaka's late header from Martin Odegaard's delivery completed the scoring with 6 minutes remaining. Before we end the news, here is a recap of our top stories. The national chairman of the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, Professor Rufai Alkali, has tendered his resignation. The Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, says President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the amendment of the bid round calendar for 2022 and 2023. On the foreign scene, Pope Francis presided over Mass in St. Peter's Square today as he kicked off events leading to Easter just a day after leaving hospital following a bout of bronchitis. You can follow us on our social media handles on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Western Spring Television. You can also watch us live on our YouTube channel at Western Spring Television. That ends Spring News at 12. I am Evelyn Ohiola. Happy Sunday to you.